Hey, Uncle Roddus back again with another vinyl video so soon after the first one. I just tried to do this upload. I just uploaded this as a live video before. I did it as a live take, and the quality. This is from my Samsung smartphone, and this is what I do my videos on nowadays. I used to do them on my camera, but the camera had a limitation of how many minutes I could go for. But these cameras on these phones are getting so much better and better that the video quality and the sound quality is just as good as my old camera, and I can go as long as I like within reason of memory. Anyway, so I uploaded it live, did it live, then I went and looked at it online, and it was crap. The quality was crap, the sound was crap. So yeah, it didn't work very well. Maybe I didn't set it up right. Anyway, this video is about a record fair that I went to today. We don't get record fairs down here in Canterbury very rarely, do we? I did miss one last weekend in Dunedin, but I'd already brought so many bloody records. So fortunately I had a little bit of cash left over and a little bit of cash still in the bank, enough to have a little bit of a play. So I went into town. Probably the main reason I went was because my wife was going to meet a friend to go to the movies today, and seeing as she was going to town, I decided, well, we're both going to town, seeing as she was going anyway. So did that, and I dropped her at the movies, shot across. I got across to Littleton at a little bit early. Now that the fair, this is about the third one they've had there. I missed the last one, but the fair is actually held or run by a little cafe. There's a little called Spooky Boogie in Littleton, and they actually sell vinyl in their shop. And I had a quick look through the bins. They had some quite interesting stuff, but their prices, especially for new stuff, can be quite high. There was a couple of records, if I'd had enough funds I might have gone and picked them up, but there was actually enough in the fair that pretty much used up all my spare cash. But so I got there about 40 minutes before it was actually due to start, and a vendor had already set up early. They were from out of town, I believe, from what hearing them talking to someone, older fella or a couple of older fellas, and they had about 4 or 5 boxes, and I had a look through. To be honest, there was nothing of interest to me there. So I went and had a cup of coffee. Now, the Spooky Boogie Cafe had a little thing on today as part of the show, said that if you say the secret code word, which they put up on their Facebook event page, while you were buying your coffee, you get a free vinyl. I wasn't expecting too much, so I said, what's the deal? I told them the word. She said, I'll reach into this box and pull out a random piece of vinyl. And this is the random piece of vinyl that she pulled out for me. Not my cup of tea at all. It is pretty scratchy too. So, I mean, this is just rubbish. They probably can't sell. So I'll give it to the wife. She actually quite likes them, so she'll be into that. So I got my cup of coffee, and very, very nice cup of coffee it was too. And when I got outside the shop again, another vendor had turned out to be our old Dave Imlay from Galaxy Records, who's still got a bit of stock left over from shutting down his shop. And I said, have you got anything new since I last saw you? And he says, I very much doubt it. But to be honest, I actually found something. I don't recall seeing this in his bins last time, but it was only $5 now. I've seen this around quite a lot. Super Turtle's first LP, Beat Manifesto from 2013. It is on Sarang Bang Records, and I think it is one of the earliest, if not the first piece of vinyl that Sarang Bang put out. I have showed several records from Sarang Bang, and as a matter of fact, I just found out today that there's another record out from Sarang Bang, which is on their Bandcamp page, and it's from Murray McNabb, and I will get my hands on that. Yeah, so these guys, I've seen this record around quite a lot, and I had put off buying it. I mean, I was going to go for $30 second hand around that, and I don't know what it was going to be like, but actually it turned out that, well, Chris had played a song off their latest. They just released another LP just very, very recently, and he played the title track off it, and I really quite enjoyed it. So I kind of bookmarked that to pick that up. But I thought, well, for $5 I'll pick this up, and it's in really good condition. It doesn't have the audio CD that it says on the cover, but that's fine. So yeah, it looks in really good. The cover's in perfect condition. So I'll add it to my Sarang Bang collection, and we'll just have to see how that pans out. So a guy had pulled up on his motorbike, and he had a box of records which he had strapped to the back of his thing. He was only barely got off his bike. He was still removing his helmet, and I was straight in to have a look what he had. And the first time through I pulled this out, he had a lot of good New Zealand stuff actually, and he only had probably 20 or 30 records at the most, but this is in pretty good, yeah, not bad nick. I picked it up for $20, which is a lot less than I have seen it around for, and actually on Discogs this is the Australasian version. Someone's trying to sell it for $73, so it's not in the best of conditions, but it plays okay. I mean, it looks like it's got a few scratches on it, but there's really light scratches that usually don't actually come through that much. There was a couple of clicks on it, so I played it while I was having my lunch when I got home. So I picked this up originally when it came out back in the late 80s, 88, 89. It was hugely hyped up in the in the NME when I was reading that back in the day, and I bought it on the day, and I was not actually overly impressed with it. It actually always disappointed me. And saying that, after I'd sold it, and many years later I had to listen to it online again, and I thought, well, actually that sounds a lot better than I remember, to be honest. I've actually had to listen to it when I got home. I still think it's a wee bit of an overrated record, but it is pretty cool, and it's definitely worth having in the collection. The same seller, I actually went back after I'd had a look around a few other bins, and I picked up this from him. This is one I've been meaning to get my hands on for a while. This is the very first Unknown Mortal Orchestra record, self-titled, from 2011. I am not quite sure, because all the numbers seem to be the same, apart from, I suppose, if I had a look close at the bloody the run out stuff. But this, I think maybe this could be the reissue of it. This album was reissued. There's a little insert there. Reissued in 2015. So I mean, this is in really good condition. There was a couple of marks on it, but the actual cover is in absolutely perfect condition. So yeah, first LP. I had all of their stuff now, apart from one more to pick up, which I think was the one after this, and I think then I will have their entire discography. So I don't know what this is going to be like. I haven't heard any of their early stuff, but yeah, pleased to have that. And it was only $10, so I mean, you know, that's a pretty cool price. Another seller, I found a copy. There was plenty of good stuff there. There was plenty of good stuff. There was way more than enough that I could have bought twice as many or 3 times as many records. I had some pretty interesting stuff there, because I had to be careful. But I picked this up. This was the very first Gun Club record I had back in the day when it first came out. I really, really, really liked it. It's a fantastic EP, 5 tracks. Death Party from 1983. What is it, in between their first and second albums, or their second and third albums? I originally thought this was the very first release from the Gun Club, but I was wrong. But I didn't know that at the time. I actually picked up a copy of this. I paid $20 for this. I actually picked up a copy of this from Penny Lane a few years back when I first started getting back into vinyl, and it was $40, because it actually features that sort of price in the shops. But it was warped and I couldn't play it, so I had to take it back. Really pleased to find this. Really snapped this up as soon as I saw it. This is the Partisans, their very first LP. I used to have a copy of this also back in my younger days. I really, really liked the Partisans. I came across them when I was about 16, still at high school, and I had a cassette of this LP from memory. Looking at the tracks, I looked at the Discogs. I didn't recognise the second LP, so I'm pretty sure this was the one I had, but I certainly know several of the tracks on here. Fantastic hardcore punk from the UK. This is actually the original No Futures release. We had this in New Zealand. It was released via Music World. Music World was a kind of mummy and daddy record label that used to had some pretty horrible stuff that came out on that record. You know, real bargain bin music, really, which you'd find in the op shops now. But the guy that ran the cut label, well, he brought some interesting stuff, and I actually showed a compilation of German progressive heavy rock from the 70s that they put out. That was really out strange to see that. But I knew that Music World had put stuff out like this from the punk scene in the early 80s, because the guy who owned the company, his son was right into it, and his son probably must have been similar age to me, or a little bit older, or whatever. And so several of this sort of stuff got quite a few of this bit of stuff, and some of the Punk and Disorderly compilations, that all got released on Music World. So that was a really interesting thing, and you still see them around occasionally. And finally, I was talking to a guy who had seen at the Lions of Flight in Dunedin last weekend, and as I was talking to him, he said, "Look, there's Bruce Russell," and I was hoping Bruce was going to show up. And Bruce had a box of records, so that was even better. I mean, because I know last time I went to the fair there, Bruce had shown up, but I don't recall him having any records to sell. But this time he had a box of records, and he had some Dead Sea records, and Bruce Russell being the leader of the Dead Sea, the infamous New Zealand noise band. And this is a record he had only just put out at the end of last year on Feeding Tube Records. It was on my want list from Flying Out, and it was recorded in June 2017 at the Oracle, which I had been to, but the Oracle is now defunct as a venue. But I did go to see pretty much the last 2 nights of music they played there before it all shut down, which was slightly before June, I think, in 2017, because it was just after the Lions of Flight, only a few weeks later from memory. I have to check that up on my blog, actually. And so, yeah, this sounds pretty cool. This is what's playing in the background, so just sort of dirgy kind of electronic oscillation and synth, analog synth are the 2 instruments according to the back of this. So yeah, I was pleased to hear this. He did have some Dead Sea. He had about 3 or 4 Dead Sea records, and his solo record that he put out, I think it was also on Feeding Tube. I was really kind of keen to buy a few more of them, but I'd already sort of spent most of my money, so he pretty much it was the last thing I bought. But like I say, I'm really pleased to have this. This was one that I had been meaning to get my hands on. So that was the record fair. So it was pretty productive, and yeah, there was actually some good stuff there. Every seller, apart from maybe 1 or 2, had stuff that was interesting. There was another guy who had 2 bins. He had a lot of brand new New Zealand stuff. Some of it I didn't even know what it was. I think some sort of dancey, remixy sort of stuff, and a few others that looked quite interesting. But yeah, money, I can't even remember what they were, but I'd never seen them before. But unfortunately, I didn't have time to stick around because I had to pick the wife up after her movie, which was finishing at 12:30. So I left just as she rang me and said she was out of the movie, so I had to shoot back over to Christchurch. So anyway, yeah, really pleased with what I've got. Not bad little scores. So I've put them all on my Discogs already in my collection, and now I just got to clean them up. But and seeing as the wife's working tonight, I get to play them on the stereo. All right, that's me for this video. Check you again. I actually have got Flying Out had a end of year stock take sale up, which finished yesterday for the end of March, for the end of the financial year, and they had up to 50% off a whole shitload of records. Unfortunately, the 50% stuff, there wasn't anything that I even remotely interested me. Some I knew, but nothing of interest. They had also a lot more of them of 20% off records. Again, there was really nothing there that interested me, or stuff that did interest me I already had, as far as New Zealand stuff was. And then they had 10% off the rest of their stock. So I actually picked up 3 records, because 1 they didn't have, and then I got a refund, so I went back and bought some more. So I've got those coming this week, and also I've now got $150 of credit on the point system, which is the maximum, so I can go and spend that. So I'll pick up 3 or 4 records there, depending on what I buy, so that I might get onto those tomorrow and get those ordered. So there'll be another 5 or 6 records coming in. But there's a lot on my want list that have come out over the last few months, or are about to come out, which I really would like to get my hands on. So hopefully work's going to stay up there and give us some fun. So anyway, that's me. Happy vinyl hunting, and see you again. Cheers. Bye.